Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bhakti Fundamentals. Today, we are going to discuss the topic of hope. Every one of us is hoping for something. We hope our plans will work out. We hope our relationships will satisfy us. We hope our career, possessions, and life achievements will bring us peace and fulfillment. Hoping against hope that things will work out in our life is something we all do. Hope is natural. So the real question is as follows. Where are we placing our hope? Are we hoping against hope materially or spiritually? And what's the difference? This is our topic today. In the Bhagavad-gītā, we learn that our actual identity, our ultimate duty or Sanatan Dharma, is to be an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord or Kṛṣṇa, the source of all that be, including you and me. Our natural condition, our healthy condition or state, is to live in loving connection with our source, the Supreme Absolute Truth. However, when we forget the Supreme, Kṛṣṇa, and our eternal relationship with Him, we begin searching for happiness separately from Him. Specifically, we begin searching for happiness in matter and in material life and pursuits. In one of his writings, Śrīla Prabhupāda explains that material life is durāśraya, false shelter. Why? A shelter is something we should be able to depend upon. Throughout our lives, we all take shelter of different things. Materially speaking, the shelter we seek may change according to our bodily age, life circumstances, interests, and experiences. Some people take shelter of money. Others take shelter of prestige. Others place their hope or faith in politics or technology or health or beauty or material relationships, etc. And often, people place their hope in many of these things all at once. Now, all of these things in our life can be used in service to the Supreme. In fact, that is the very topic of our video series on dovetailing our lives with the Supreme. In Bhakti Yoga, we learn that money, relationships, work, technology, etc. can all be viewed or used either materially or spiritually. Bhakti Yoga is the art and spiritual science that teaches us how to properly connect all of the people, activities, and things in our lives to Kṛṣṇa, the source of all those things anyway. However, when the things in our life are disconnected from service to the Supreme and become the primary objects of our faith and hope, then they cannot help protect us from the four fundamental problems of material existence, which are birth, death, old age, and disease. And this is why the material world is described as durāśraya, a false shelter, an inadequate shelter for us. Matter promises security and lasting happiness, yet it cannot ultimately provide either. No material arrangement, no matter how successful, can free us from the temporary nature of material existence. The Nectar of Instruction is Śrīla Prabhupāda's very elegant summary study of Upadeshamrita, one of the foundational texts in our Bhakti tradition. And in one of his purports or summaries in that text, Śrīla Prabhupāda writes on this very topic of shelter. He describes, this world of Maya, or illusion, is called durāśraya, which means false or bad shelter. One who puts his faith in durāśraya becomes a candidate for hoping against hope. In the material world, everyone is trying to become happy. And although their material attempts are baffled in every way, due to their nescience, they cannot understand their mistakes. People try to rectify one mistake by making another mistake. This is the way of the struggle for existence in the material world. Now, this is such an astute commentary if we really reflect on our lives. Every one of us is searching for happiness and security in an ever-changing world where anything can happen at any time. We tend to think if I can just get the right job, the right relationship, the right house, the right amount of money, or the right set of overall circumstances, then I'll finally be happy. And sometimes these things do bring us happiness, for a while. However, because they are temporary and subject to change, the happiness they provide is also temporary. Eventually, situations change, people change, our bodies change, and the satisfaction we were depending upon fades away like early morning fog when the sun rises. Now, when that happens and our happiness evaporates, we often conclude that the problem was not our approach, but simply that we haven't found the right material solution yet. So what do we tend to do before spiritual life? We often look for another job, a different relationship, another possession, another goal, a different house, etc. We keep searching for the perfect material situation that will finally make us permanently happy. However, according to the teachings of Bhakti Yoga and Kṛṣṇa's teachings in the Bhagavad-gītā, the problem is not that we have failed to find the right material arrangement. The problem is that we, eternal spiritual beings, are seeking lasting happiness in a temporary material world. As long as we continue looking for permanent satisfaction in matter, the cycle of hope, disappointment, and renewed hope continues, not only throughout this lifetime, but from lifetime to lifetime. If we instead realized our true identity as eternal spiritual beings, we could begin living in accordance with our Sanatana Dharma, our eternal nature and relationship with the Supreme Lord. And in doing so, we would be seeking happiness, spiritual happiness, in a way that is aligned with who we actually are. Actually, material life can be compared to trying to rearrange chairs on the deck of the Titanic as it sinks. Instead of leaving the sinking ship of material existence, we tend to try rearranging the furniture, comparable to our life circumstances. We think that the next relationship, the next job, the next house, etc., will finally bring us lasting happiness. Meanwhile, however, the deeper problems of material existence still remain as we engage in this game of musical chairs, constantly rearranging and readjusting our material circumstances in pursuit of lasting happiness. Various health problems come and go for our material body, unexpected reversals in life and disappointments arise, old age gradually approaches, and eventual death for our body looms in our future. No amount of material rearrangement can remove these fundamental realities of material existence. In fact, Kṛṣṇa himself describes the material world in the Bhagavad-gītā as dukkhalayam ashashvatam, a temporary place filled with suffering. To consider these realities of material life is not pessimistic, though. Why? Because spiritual life, Bhakti Yoga, offers us a positive alternative to the suffering we encounter in this material world. Since we are each individual, eternal spirit souls, no amount of material activity will permanently fulfill us. Matter cannot ultimately satisfy spirit. Even if we get everything we want materially in this lifetime, we must give it up at the time of death for our bodies. Therefore, instead of hoping against hope materially, let's hope against hope spiritually. Now, what does that involve? Spiritually hoping against hope means that even though we feel ourselves spiritually unqualified, we maintain the hope of receiving the mercy and help of the Supreme, or Kṛṣṇa, in spiritual life. This second type of hope is glorious. One of the great ācāryas, or teachers, in our bhakti lineage, Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī, describes this hope as āśā-bandha, which refers to unbreakable hope in Kṛṣṇa's mercy. In his book, The Nectar of Devotion, which is a summary study of one of Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī's works describing the spiritual science of Bhakti Yoga, Śrīla Prabhupāda summarizes Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī's understanding of spiritual hope against hope when he writes, "The strong conviction that one will certainly receive the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called in Sanskrit āśā-bandha. Āśā-bandha means to continue to think, because I'm trying my best to follow the routine principles of devotional service, I am sure that I will go back to Godhead, back to home. We can see here how spiritual hope against hope is very different from the hope or faith that we place in material life. Material hope is based upon our own plans, abilities, and material arrangements, which often fail to deliver. And even when they do bring us happiness, that material happiness is temporary because the arrangement itself is temporary. As aspiring spiritualists, we may struggle with our mind placing material distractions before us, or we may have difficulty cultivating the discipline needed to maintain our spiritual practices, such as chanting a set number of rounds of the Maha Mantra on a daily basis. Yet the principle of spiritual hope against hope means that we continue forward anyway, despite our imperfections and any missteps we make along the path of Bhakti Yoga. We remain hopeful and determined because we know that Kṛṣṇa is kind, compassionate, and eager to help those who sincerely turn toward him. Our confidence in spiritual life, our great hope, is in Kṛṣṇa's mercy. In fact, in the Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 4, verse 11, Kṛṣṇa assures us that he reciprocates with those who approach him. And later in the Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 10, verse 10, he further promises that he will give the requisite intelligence for how to reach him to those who are sincerely trying to serve him. In other words, we are never walking our spiritual path alone. Kṛṣṇa actively helps those who turn toward him. If we take one step towards him, he takes 10 steps towards us. In conclusion, where we place our hope matters. When we place our faith exclusively in material arrangements, we will eventually be disappointed in the temporary results that they bring. Therefore, let us place our hope in something ultimately reliable, spiritual life, in our eternal relationship with the Supreme Absolute Truth, Kṛṣṇa. Spiritual hope against hope means having the firm conviction that although we may not be fully qualified or perfect in our practice of Bhakti Yoga, Kṛṣṇa is fully qualified to deliver us from material life in reciprocation with our sincere attempts to reach him. So that's all we have for today on the topic of materially hoping against hope versus spiritually hoping against hope. Please let us know what you thought of the topic, and if you have any questions that we might answer in a follow-up session. In the meantime, thank you for listening today, and we'll see you next time on Bhakti Fundamentals.